In Formula One, job security is a myth. Unless your name is Max Verstappen. Everyone else, especially in the Red Bull ecosystem, is basically one bad weekend away from being on the chopping block. And that's not just a theory, it's a well-documented pattern. Red Bull doesn't wait. They don't do patience. You're either outperforming expectations or making room for the next guy. Just ask Pierre Gasly, or Alex Albon, or Nick de Vries. The list goes on. Right now, Yuki Tsunoda's name is uncomfortably close to being added to that list. After nearly 4 seasons in F1, the Japanese driver still hasn't cemented his place. He's had flashes of brilliance, sure, but flashes don't win contracts. Consistency does. And lately, that's where Tsunoda's fallen short. Before Zandvoort, he hadn't scored a single point in over 7 races. It's brutal, especially when you're driving for a team that's desperate to prove it can deliver results with both cars, not just one. The irony? Just as Tsunoda finally clawed his way back into the points, a new problem rolled in. Isack Hadjar, the 20-year-old French rookie who just pulled off a jaw-dropping podium at the Dutch Grand Prix. And that wasn't a fluke. Hadjar didn't just luck into that P3, he earned it. He qualified in the top 4, raced clean, stayed consistent, and most importantly, he stayed ready when Lando Norris's McLaren gave out with only a few laps to go. That's what Red Bull loves, that killer instinct, that readiness to capitalize. And Hadjar's got it. So now, Red Bull's eyes are shifting hard. Because while Tsunoda's back in the points, he's still way down in the driver's standings, just barely ahead of the Alpine drivers who've scored nothing. And with no Honda engine deal locking him in anymore, Tsunoda's safety net is gone. Red Bull owes him nothing. His fate? It's all about what he does in the next few races, and the clock's already ticking. Helmut Marko made it crystal clear. Yuki has until the Mexican Grand Prix, about 4 more races, to prove he deserves a seat in 2025. That's it. No guarantees, no promises, just performance. Red Bulls postponed the final decision date to give him one last window, but make no mistake, Hadjar's podium has changed everything. The bar has been raised, and Yuki's either going to meet it or move out of the way. Now let's talk about Hadjar. The guy just flipped the script at Zandvoort. Before the race, no one was betting on him to hold onto that P4 starting position. Most people expected him to tumble down the order rookie nerves, maybe a few aggressive lunges, a rookie mistake or two. But that didn't happen. Instead, he ran with the big boys. He kept his pace, didn't crack under pressure, and actually had moments where he was close to Verstappen's gearbox. That's insane. Sure, he wasn't ever going to pass Max, but just being in the rearview mirror of a 3-time world champion on race pace, that's a statement. What makes it even more impressive is Hadjar's mindset. After the race, he admitted he was just trying not to fall down the order. He was being realistic, aiming to just finish where he started, but once he realized he could hang with the frontrunners, he started pushing, and it paid off. When Lando's McLaren gave up, Hadjar didn't hesitate. He stepped up, held off challengers, drove a nearly flawless race. That's how legends are born in F1, not just with speed, but with guts and timing. And now, Red Bull is watching closely. Red Bull has always had a type. They love the underdog with bite, the rookie with nothing to lose and everything to prove. That's how they've built their legacy, by finding raw talent, throwing it into the fire, and seeing who comes out scorched versus who comes out sharpened. Isack Hadjar just got his trial by fire, and he didn't just survive, he thrived. The Racing Bulls car wasn't supposed to be competitive. Analysts, fans, even team insiders had written it off as a midfield machine at best. But at Zandvoort, Hadjar made it look like a podium contender. It was the kind of performance that turns heads in the paddock, not just because of the result, but because of how calm he looked doing it. There was no flinching, no radio meltdowns, just a young driver who knew his job, nailed every lap, and walked away with history. He's now the youngest French driver ever to stand on an F1 podium. 5th youngest overall. That's not just trivia, that's legacy material. Alain Prost himself reportedly reached out with a congratulatory congratulatory message. That's the kind of nod that turns you from promising to potential star overnight. And in Red Bull's cutthroat world, potential is a currency that buys opportunity. But there's a problem. Red Bull already has Max Verstappen, and when you have a driver like Max, the seat next to him becomes a black hole. It swallows careers. No one has truly been able to thrive in that second Red Bull seat since Daniel Ricciardo. Every other experiment, Gasly, Albon, Perez, has ended the same way: shattered confidence and a one-way ticket back down the grid. So what does that mean for Hadjar? Right now, it means waiting, watching, delivering more weekends like Zandvoort without slipping. Red Bull knows that if they throw him into the main team too early, he could implode under the weight of that comparison to Max. The better play? Let him marinate in the Racing Bulls for another season, gather data, gain experience, and build consistency. That brings us back to Tsunoda. His seat is no longer just his to lose, it's Hadjar's to take. And with the Honda connection drying up, there's very little political shielding left. When Honda was tied to Red Bull, keeping Yuki made sense. It was about keeping the Japanese manufacturers happy. But now that Honda's splitting for Aston Martin, the gloves are off. Tsunoda's running out of runway. His best finish this year was 9th in Bahrain. That's it. He's been fighting the car, sure, but so has everyone else, and with Red Bull's new team leadership giving both cars equal treatment, the excuses are running thin. When the new floor upgrade went on Spa, Yuki showed promise. For once, he had parity with his teammate. He even out-qualified expectations at Hungary. But qualifying doesn't pay points, and right now, Red Bull is hungry for results, not potential. Helmut Marko made it plain: if Yuki wants to stay, he needs to get closer to Max's pace and do it consistently, not in flashes, not in Friday practice, on Sundays when it matters. The benchmark isn't just decent, it's max level consistency. That's an insane ask, but it's Red Bull. That's how they operate. The decision window closes at the Mexican Grand Prix. 4 races. That's all Yuki's got. Not just to impress, but to survive. Because once that door shuts, Red Bull won't hesitate. If Hadjar keeps stacking clean weekends, the choice becomes obvious. You don't keep the guy who's plateaued. You back the kid who just made the podium look easy. The Mexican Grand Prix sits like a ticking time bomb on Yuki Tsunoda's calendar. It's not just another race weekend. It's the finish line in a race he didn't even realize he was running until Isack Hadjar's breakthrough made it obvious. 4 races to convince Red Bull that he still has a place in their future. 4 races to fight for his F1 career. That's not pressure, that's survival mode. Behind the scenes, the shift in Red Bull's internal dynamics has only made things more complicated. With Christian Horner stepping away and Laurent Mekies taking over as the new figurehead for Racing Bulls, there's been a subtle power shuffle. Mekies, unlike Horner, sees value in building a balanced driver lineup. He doesn't want one car chasing points and the other just filling space on the grid. That's part of why Tsunoda even got the upgraded floor at Spa. Under Horner, it might have stayed with Max, but Mekies pushed for parity, arguing that if both drivers are supposed to be evaluated, they should at least have the same tools. That decision bought Tsunoda some time. But time isn't enough. He needs numbers, points, results that show he's evolving, not just coasting. The truth is, being within a 10th of Max in free practice doesn't count if you're still P13 when the checkered flag drops. This sport doesn't hand out medals for potential, and Red Bull doesn't keep drivers for sentiment. Hadjar, on the other hand, has nothing to lose. That's his greatest weapon. He's not weighed down by years of expectations or the scars of being overlooked. He's 20, hungry, fearless, the kind of driver who isn't worried about being the next Verstappen because he's too focused on being the first Hadjar. And that energy is infectious. The team sees it, the fans see it, and more importantly, Helmut Marko sees it. Marko's always trusted his gut when it comes to spotting talent. It was his call to put Verstappen into an F1 seat as a teenager, his call to promote Sebastian Vettel when others said he wasn't ready. When Marko gets that feeling about a driver, things move fast, and Hadjar just gave him every reason to get that feeling. Still, there's a catch. Red Bull doesn't just need drivers, they need the right second driver, someone who won't just bring home points, but who can work within the high-pressure, Max-centric environment. It's not just about about speed, it's about resilience, about handling the spotlight without cracking. That's where Hadjar has to prove himself next. Can he handle the media frenzy? Can he deal with being called the next guy without letting it mess with his head? Because that's where so many before him have failed. If Tsunoda wants to hold onto his seat, he's got to show that he can be that guy. Not the quiet second fiddle, but the consistent threat. The kind of driver who might not beat Max, but who can stay close enough to push him, cover strategy gaps, and punish Ferrari and Mercedes when they slip. That's the role Red Bull desperately needs filled. There's no room left for average. Not in this sport, not in this team. Tsunoda's final test isn't just about lap times or race results. It's about presence. Can he make himself unignorable? Can he force Red Bull to look at Hadjar's podium and still say, yeah, but we're sticking with Yuki? Because if he can't, the seat's already gone. It's just a matter of when they make it official. Red Bull doesn't do maybes, they do moves. And Hadjar is already standing at the door, helmet in hand.